Twitter has routinely flagged posts for supposedly giving out misinformation, particularly posts about whether there was fraud in the general election. It's now giving that power to certain users. That is, if they qualify. NTD's Don Tran talked to some experts about the platform's new feature.
If you're on Twitter, have a verified phone and email, and no history of recent Twitter rules violations, then you're well on your way in joining Birdwatch. It's a new feature on Twitter where users can flag tweets considered to be misleading or false. Twitter said Birdwatch is meant to address the issue of misinformation. But social media professor Andrew Selepak said there's a lot of uncertainty with this new program.
My concern is that what people are going to do is they're going to sit in their echo chamber and they're going to look for things that disagree with what they already believe. So if you're on the political left, you're going to look for comments made by people on the political right and look to kind of moderate their content and suggest corrections and basically flag content. And the same is going to be true for people on the political right who are going to look at content from those on the left.
Senior investigative journalist at the Epoch Times and host of the YouTube channel Crossroads, Joshua Phillip, says he doesn't think Birdwatch will do what it's meant to do, and that Twitter itself is not neutral.
Twitter doesn't really have a, say, bipartisan stance when it comes to allowing news and viewpoints. We saw, for example, even the selective censorship of Trump and other people who support Trump when it comes to, for example, putting warnings on tweets. It does seem to be the case that Twitter is doing this out of very likely political interest, or being fair to them, maybe they're doing it as well because they don't have the ability to moderate content to the degree that they feel they would have to, and so they're recruiting people to basically do it themselves.
During the 2020 election, Twitter reported that it flagged 300,000 tweets, most of them relating to alleged voter fraud. At the same time, the platform said the Chinese Communist regime's posts that denied there's forced labor in Xinjiang province did not violate its rules. Selepak says there are a lot of questions about who will be part of Birdwatch.
The issue is that who are these people that are going to be chosen? Who is going to be allowed to do it? And then what are their backgrounds? Twitter said that they're going to allow different users with different backgrounds, but will we ever see a list of who these people are? Will we ever know how many people there are? There's a lot of questions that still go into what this is going to be and what the final version of it's going to be.
Phillips says the program will have individuals determining what is true on Twitter.
And for a person to take up something like that, you need to be a person who already has very strong emotions about, for example, stopping what you perceive as misinformation. And unfortunately, the perception of misinformation these days isn't always misinformation itself. It can just be something you disagree with. And so the question is going to be, what constitutes truth and what constitutes allowed truth?
Phillips says Twitter's new feature is not so different from actions made by communist regimes in the past. He pointed to communist China in the 20th century, where children reported on their parents, leading to their executions and the children being cast away by the Chinese Communist Party.
The effect of programs like this is people start losing trust in each other, and people start looking out at each other as basically thought police. This is the reality that Twitter is creating. It's recruiting people to become volunteer thought police. And we've seen this happen under many communist regimes in the past, and we've seen the kind of tensions it creates between people. It is a terrible development in our society.
Twitter has, in recent months, expanded a number of its policies to monitor misleading information. The platform also suspended more than 70,000 accounts that were engaged in sharing what they termed harmful QAnon-associated content, which they said were dedicated to the propagation of this conspiracy theory across the platform. Reporting by Don Tran, NTD News.